星空 Learn Reading and Writing，大家好，好久不见。我之前那个断更了，非常抱歉，非常抱歉。呃，之前我们其实已经读到第四章了，然后这次第四章是关于这个菜单成本还有成本控制的，菜单、菜谱和成本控制。非常抱歉，再次抱歉，因为我这个各种原因吧，因为断更了一段时间之后，我还要继续把这个书读完、写完我的笔记。好，那我们今天接着我们上次的部分继续讲 The written recipe. A recipe is a set of instructions for producing a certain dish. In order to duplicate a desired preparation, it is necessary to have a precise record of the ingredients, their amount, and the way in which they are combined and cooked. This is the purpose of a recipe. In spite of their importance, written recipes have many limitations. No matter how detailed a recipe may be, it assumes you already have certain knowledge, that you understand the terminology it uses, for example, and that you know how to measure ingredients. The uses and limitations of recipes. Many people believe learning to cook means simply learning recipes. Knowledgeable cooks, in contrast, are able to prepare food without written recipes. If they have to, because they have a good understanding of basic principles and techniques. A recipe is a way of applying basic techniques to specific ingredients. 这段我觉得说的那个比较有道理，因为我现在工作大概1年多2年，我觉得其实你现在的积累，你会发现很多的那个菜谱有很相似的地方。你要知道一些基本的这个知识和技巧，可以帮你就应付很多东西。所以他这里面说 ，knowledgeable cooks in contrast are able to prepare food without written recipes。所以这里面从另外一个角度理解，就是说我们如果要做一个菜的话，你在看菜谱的时候，你要先理解它，尽量不要看一步做一步，那样的话对你，做这个食物其实没什么帮助。我们继续。If you have already read Chapter 6 or have even casually lived through this book, you know it is not just a book of recipes. Although it contains hundreds of recipes, they take up a relatively small part of it. Your main concern is learning techniques and procedures you can apply to any recipe. The main purpose of learning basic cooking principles is not to be able to cook without recipes, however, but to understand the recipes you use. As we said in the beginning of this section, every recipe assumes you have certain knowledge that enables you to understand the instructions and follow them correctly. Some recipes supply very little information and some supply a great deal, but no matter how detailed it is, a written recipe can't tell you everything, and some judgment by the cook is always required. There are several reasons for this. Number one, food products are not uniform. Food ingredients are natural products, so they are not uniform like machine bolts, ballpoint pens, and printer paper. One tomato may be riper than another. One carrot may be more tender or sweeter than another. One oyster saltier than another. Such variations may affect how the ingredients are handled, how long they are cooked, what proportions are needed, and how much seasoning is required. 2. Kitchens do not have the same equipment. Different pans distribute heat at different rates. Different broilers heat to different temperatures. Liquid evaporates from wide pots faster than from tall, narrow ones, and so on. 3. It is impossible to give exact instruction for many processes. How do you set the burner if the instructions say cook over medium heat? How thick is a thick sauce? How long do you broil a rear steak? Training and experience will help you learn to make accurate judgments about such questions. The difference between an experienced cook and a beginning cook is the ability to make judgments about these variables. Standard recipe. Definition. A standard recipe is a set of instructions describing the way a particular establishment prepares a particular dish. In other words, it is a customized recipe developed by an operation for the use of its own cooks, using its own equipment to be served to its own patrons. 这个里边有一个定义啊 ，standard recipe， 这个我们应该有可能会考吧，大家记一下。The structure of a standardized recipe， 这里边要讲一个 structure。Recipe forms differ from operation to operation, but nearly all of them try to include as much recipe information as possible. The following details may be listed. Name of the recipe, yield, expressed as total yield, or number of portions or portion size. Ingredients and exact amounts listed in order of use. Exact description of ingredients is included. Directions for preparing or fabricating each ingredients, such as trimming and cutting instructions. Expected trim yields for any produce or other ingredients that must be fabricated. Equipment needed, including measuring equipment, pan sizes, portion equipment, and so on. Direction for preparing the dish. Directions are kept as simple as possible. Preparation and cooking temperatures and times. Direction for portioning, plating, and garnishing. All necessary food safety instructions, including critical storage, holding and cooking temperatures, and cleaning and sanitation procedures. See discussion of critical control points below and on page 29 to 30. Directions for breaking down the station, cleaning up and storing leftovers. Number 3. The function of standardized recipes. An operation's own recipes are used to control production. They do this in 2 ways. They control quality. Standardized recipes are detailed and specific. This is to ensure the product is the same every time it's made and served, no matter who cooks it. They control quantity. First, they indicate precise quantities for every ingredient and how they are to be measured. Second, they indicate exact yields and portion sizes and how the portions are to be measured and served. By controlling quality and quantity, recipes are a key tool in controlling cost. Number 4. The limitations of standardized recipes. Standardized recipes have the same problem as all recipes. The problem we discussed earlier regarding variations in foods and equipment and vagueness of instructions. These problems can be reduced by writing the recipes carefully, but they cannot be eliminated. Even if an operation uses good standardized recipes, a new employee making a dish for the first time usually requires supervision to make sure he or she interprets the instructions the same way as the rest of the staff. These limitations don't invalidate standardized recipes. If anything, they make exact directions even more important. But they do mean that experience and knowledge are still very important. Table 4.1 gives an example of a standardized recipe based on a recipe in this book. Compare and note the difference between this recipe and the instruction recipes in this book, explained in the following section. In particular, note the following differences. There are no metric units because this recipe is designed for a single kitchen that always uses US measures. Only one set of the measurements is needed. The procedure appears below the ingredients rather than in a column to the right. An operation can choose any recipe format, but the operation using this recipe wants to emphasize collecting and measuring all ingredients before beginning to cook. The recipe includes critical control points. The operation using this recipe has established a HACCP system. Food safety instructions are included as part of the standardized recipe. 这边他给了一个 recipe， 我们看一下啊。Chicken breast parmesan, portion size 1 chicken breast, 4 ounce total yield 12 portions。它这个说了一个，就是每一份这个鸡是一个鸡胸，大概4盎司左右。然后呢，一共它要做12份。这个是前面这个其实很重要，就是说你这个东西能产出多少量。然后我们看一下它的 recipe 里边的所有的这个材料，所有材料的数量，还有你有可能会用到的这个工具。其实工具这一栏一般的可能不是特别多，会写工具这一栏，但是如果写的话会很帮助，因为比如说你要准备你的食材之前，你同时你还要准备这些东西，准备好之后你在用的时候就会很方便。否则你比如说你需要一个锅，你只要炒的时候再去找的话，就会很会出问题，有可能。For service 这里边写了，他还标注了一下，这个写的这部分相对来说非常详细了。然后我们看一下它procedure 就是过程，然后它有 advanced prep， 它这里边都是这个 CCP 的啊。然后它还有一个 cooking， 它分成了2个部分。我们把这个可以读一下，我们看它比如说这个是怎么做的。First, collect and measure all ingredients. Refrigerate eggs, cheese, milk, and chicken at 40 Fahrenheit or lower until needed. Collect all equipment. Place the flour in the hotel pan, season with the salt and white pepper. Break eggs into the stainless steel bowl and discard the shells. Beat with the wire whip until foaming. Add grated cheese and milk. Mix in with the whip. Number 5, cover the bowl with plastic wrap and refrigerate at below 40 Fahrenheit degree until needed. Flatten the chicken breast lightly with the meat mallet until half-inch thick. Place the breast in a hotel pan. Cover with plastic wrap. Refrigerate at below 40 Fahrenheit degree until ready to cook. Number 7, clean and sanitize the mallet and the work surface. Wash hands thoroughly. 就真正 recipe 也不会写这些啊。你像你洗手的话，不会写在这个 recipe 里，对不对？不会写在做饭的这个配方里。我们看 cooking。Place one of the saute pan over moderate heat, allow to heat 2 minutes. Measure 1 ounce clarified butter into the pan. 你像这个盘在火上加了多长时间？这个的话，它这里写2分钟，这基本上不可能是一个真正的 recipe 啊。真正的 recipe 不应该这样写的，它只能写你在中小火啊或者中火这样加热这是可以的，但加热时间这个，你如果不是用高压锅或者那种电子的计时器，你没必要写加热多少分钟啊，也不会有人写的。Number 10, one at a time, dip 3 chicken breasts in the seasoned flour until completely coated on both sides. Shake off excess dipped in egg mixture. Coat both sides completely. Return remaining chicken and egg mixture to refrigerator. Place the 3 breasts in the saute pan. Wash hands after handling the raw chicken and before handling cooked food. Number 12, cook the chicken over moderate heat until golden brown on the bottom using the tongs Turn over and continue to cook until chicken reaches an internal temperature of 165 to 170. Test the internal temperature with sanitized instant read thermometer. Number 13. Repeat with the remaining chicken breasts using clean saute pan. If your work is interrupted before completion, cover and refrigerate chicken and egg mixture. Arrange in single layer in hotel pan. Top each chicken breast with 1 slice of lemon placed in center of breast. Number 15. Send pan of chicken breast immediately to steam table in hot buffet line. Ensure that steam table is turned on and food maintains an internal temperature of 145. 这个比如说在这个地方他说确保你这个就是hot buffet line 这个 steam 的 table 这个地方应该是最先做的，你要确保你这个食物做好之后立马可以放在那个热的保温的地方，你不能说当时的话你发现这个忘开你再开，当时再开的话那个很慢，就好比说你要油炸的东西之前，你第一步在你准备油炸这个鸡肉之前，你应该所有的那个油锅该加热的，如果你用 deep fryer 的话，那个应该先打开，早就打开了，因为有些的那个设备需要很长的加热时间。最后一个 discard leftover egg mixture and seasoned flour. Do not use for any other products. Clean and sanitize all equipment. Instructional recipes 这是下一部分 Instructional recipes. Recipes published in cookbook and textbooks are different from standardized recipe. 那可能我之前理解的不太对，就是之前那叫 standardized recipe， 然后正常的我们看的这种 recipe 叫 published recipe， 这两种不一样的。可能 standardized recipe 就需要你把那个工具啊、什么温度啊、什么关于卫生那种控制都写出来，但是可能那个 published recipe 不用写。Because they are not designed for use in a single specification, the recipes in this book are used in a great variety of situations and in different ways. The purpose of a standardized recipe is to direct and control the production of a particular food item. Directions must be as complete and exact as possible. The purpose of these instructional recipes in this book is to teach basic cooking techniques. They provide an opportunity for you to practice with specific ingredients the general procedures you have learned. If you glance at any of this recipe in this book, you will see they do not contain all the features of a standardized recipe as described in previous section. In particular, you will see the following differences. 1. Instructions for preparation. In most cases, recipes in this book follow a discussion of a basic procedure. The recipes are examples of the general procedure, and they give you experience in applying what you have learned. The information you are given in the recipe instructions is intended primarily to encourage you to think and to learn a technique, not just to turn out a product. You should consult your instructor when you have a question about the procedure. Variations and optional ingredients. Many recipes are followed by variations. They are actually whole recipes given in abbreviated terms. It is possible to write them out as separate, full-length recipes. You are encouraged to do this before preparing a variation as a learning experience. Giving recipes as variations rather than as separate recipes encourages you to see the patterns behind each. Again, you are learning techniques, not just recipes. You develop a lot more understanding of what you are doing if you see Spanish rice and turkey pilaf, for example, or coconut cream pie and chocolate pudding as variation of the same basic techniques rather than separate unrelated recipes. Your instructions may have their own variations, or they may wish to make changes in the basic recipes in order to teach you certain points. Unlike standardized recipes, instructional recipes are not engraved in stone. Cooking with judgment. When you make a recipe for the first time, you should apply your knowledge and think about the recipe in relation to the skills you have. The first step in preparing a recipe is to read it carefully. Then read it again. Make sure you understand every ingredient and every instruction in the procedure. A common fault is to prepare a recipe according to what you think it says rather than what it actually says. You are especially likely to make this error if the procedure in the recipe is different from the way you usually prepare a similar dish. After you have reread the recipe carefully, you should determine the following points. Number 1, what are the basic cooking methods? When you read the recipe for a subwritten, 这我都不知道是什么呀，大家看 subwritten。You will quickly figure out the cooking method used is braising, even if the word braise is never used in the recipe. Then you should review in your mind everything you know about basic braising procedures. What are the characteristics of the ingredients is second. If the subwritten recipe calls for bottom round of beef, for example, you should ask yourself, what do I know about bottom round? Is it lean or fatty, tough or tender? How do these traits affect cooking? Number 3, what are the functions of the ingredients? What does the vinegar do in the subwritten recipe? What about the vegetables, the ginger snaps? When you have gained more experience, you will be able to easily answer these questions. You will know what ingredients contribute to flavor, to texture or body, and how they do it. 我觉得这个地方，这书虽然是一个 basic 的书啊，整个这个书，但是其实这个地方已经显示了你作为一个专业人士应该对那个食物和原材料有一个怎么样的理解啊？这个大家还是要特别注意。如果你能做到它这些，我觉得已经很棒了。就是说你看到一个菜单之后，比如说中文的菜单，比如说你看一个鱼香肉丝，然后你就应该知道这里边这个肉是什么肉，比如说哪个部分呢应该怎么炒，怎么腌，然后什么糖醋口的还是鱼香口的，大概比例是多少？然后这些蔬菜配菜有哪些讲究？是不是必须得有木耳？是不是必须得有那个东西叫什么？我都忘了那个忘了。有一个食材在鱼香肉丝里必须用的那个食材，然后你是不是得用那个酱，对吧？这些如果你都能想到，那就说明你已经非常非常不错了。What are the cooking times? Most of the recipes in this book do not give cooking times, except as general guidelines to help you plan production. This is because cooking times are too variable to be stated exactly. Instead, you will learn how to test for doneness by observing changes in the product. You must be able to judge when a product has reached the right temperature, the proper texture or consistency, or the desired taste. When you learn to cook with judgment, you will be able to prepare foods with most recipes, even poorly written ones. You will be able to see what might be wrong with a new recipe before you try it, and to make judgments in it. You will know how to substitute ingredients or use different equipment. You will even be able to create new recipes. Remember, we said that some recipes supply very little information and depend largely on the cook's knowledge. With enough experience, you will even be able to cook from recipe like the following: a complete recipe for fillets of sourbassy, quoted in this entire from Le Repertoire de la Cuisine, a favorite book used by chefs in classic French cooking。这个地方应该是一种鱼身上那个肥链那个部分，就是那个最大的一块肉那部分。我们看一下 recipe 怎么写的啊。Poached with shallots and chopped parsley, white wine and fish stock. Reduce the stock, add butter, and coat the fish. Glaze。这里边所以说你，比如你知道什么叫 poach， 什么叫shallots and parsley 是常用的法式里边的调料，还有 white wine, fish stock。比如说你如果 fish stock 不是买的自己做，你还得知道怎么做 fish stock。然后呢，什么叫 reduce？ 什么叫 add butter and coat the fish？ glaze 什么叫 glaze， 对吧？这些的话，如果你知道了，那你至少就是这个鱼的肥链你能做出来了。做完之后，你可以加一个摆盘，配点青菜就可以，就是做好了，对吧？让我们看一下 key points to review. Is this statement true? If you have a good recipe, you don't need to know how to cook because the recipe tells you what to do. Explain. What are standardized recipe? How are they used? 其实这章的话，我感觉刚才这个部分就是这边 the written recipe 给我们那个启发还是挺多的，就是你怎么用这个东西，对吧？这个 recipe 你要会使用它，但是呢，你又不能完全依赖于它，对吧？今天我们就先读这个一部分吧 ，the written recipe。因为我们之前断更了，今天第一天我们先读这么多，最后还是说挺抱歉的，但是这个事情我还是得做，为了我自己也为了大家，因为我觉得这个事情，读书这个事情吧，因为我收到一些反馈，比如说从看我视频一些人收到反馈，就说大家没人看这个，对吧？但是呢，我觉得是怎么说呢，就是对有用的人来说，他就会看，对那个没用的人呢，你做的多好，他也不会看的，对吧？如果大家喜欢呢，记得大家就是订阅我一下，点一下小铃铛，然后更新的话，你就随时能第一时间能看到。主要是能提醒你说，这边有一个人在这边读书，在这边学习，在这边思考这些烹饪的问题。然后你呢，如果对这感兴趣，如果也想做这个事情呢，那我们是在一起的，对吧？主要就是这个意思。好，谢谢大家，再见。